Hey, everybody, welcome back to ParaMystic Podcast. I am your host, Kristina Bloom, and I am here with my amazing co-host, Glenn Boddice. Yeah, funny guy, funny guy. I've missed Glenn. We haven't had as much chance to catch up with each other because his schedule blew up. And which is good for him, but I miss him. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing good. Do you know what? I've just realized I should enter a miming contest. I think it's years sat behind the drum kit doing the. Obviously, I can't communicate with the crowd other than mime and hit things.
Yes, yes.
But to answer your question, I'm. Oh, we've got a pro with us. Look at that. You're wasted doing
I'm
radio.
telling you, I'm telling you. Wow. So what have you been up to?
Quality.
How you been?
I've been really well, thank you. I've been busy, as I said, probably last time, working three jobs, very varied work. The spiritual work, as you know,
Yes.
which involves teaching, involves live chats, radio podcasts as well, social media content, house parties, readings. You know, the list goes on, doesn't it? Just having that medium or sensitive, so doing all of that. And then there's the muggle job that I talk about. This is where I have to roll my sleeves up, put myself into an energetic bubble, and knuckle down to some good old fashioned factory work graft. It pays the bills, keeps the wolf from the door. And so I've been doing that. And then also my third one being is I'm a drummer, as I mentioned, in a
Yes.
band. So I've been playing mainly all over Yorkshire with the band. We seem to be
Nice.
playing a lot there. We don't like to travel too far because of obviously logistics being one and costings being the other.
Right.
So we seem to end up in Yorkshire a lot. And you know what? There's some beautiful people there, really nice venues, and it's an honor to get to perform in front of them. It's such a, as you know, it fills my heart with joy, and
Yeah.
it's nice to see that what I like about it, everybody in the band loves it, is passionate and obsessed with what we do. And to share an audience that connect in with us feeling that is amazing. I can't put that into words, but
Yeah, that's
I've been
beautiful.
busy doing that. And then, um, as you know, I've got a good lady now, a
Yeah.
partner, and so having some really quality time and good weekends with her when I'm not doing all of that. And yeah, I feel very blessed. As you know, I've got two daughters, and it's one of the hardest things, as you will know yourself, having to step back that little bit more. They're growing up now,
Yeah.
moving into adulthood. Well, they are into adulthood. And even though you want to make some suggestions of help and guidance, you have to go, "Mm,
Yeah.
fingers on lips,
Sometimes we just have to let them do what they
let them
do. And
learn."
yeah.
Yes. So
So yeah,
long answer, but yes,
I
I'm
love
doing
it.
all right. What have
I
you been
love
up
it.
to?
I love it. I've been doing a little bit of artwork, um, learning, teaching
What
myself,
work?
watching. Yeah, I've really gotten into pastels, oil pastels, and realizing that I'm actually pretty good at landscapes. So,
Nice one. Is
yeah,
is that the oil pastels where you can smudge and really feel into
yeah,
the color and blend? Oh, I can
yes.
see why you like doing that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
just feel
tactile.
into it.
Yeah, it's very tactile. I like that. And the just the blending of different colors and the different skies and just I don't know. I've really gotten into that. And also taking online clients, been taking online clients, doing readings and interestingly enough, a lot of past life stuff lately. A lot of
Oh,
people delving into their past lives lately. So that's been interesting as well because I love doing that. I just think it's such an interesting way to get more insight into ourselves is to do past life regression. So, yeah.
excellent. Have you been finding that your clients have it's changed their life in this life in the now moment,
Yes.
having gone back?
Yes, more understanding, I think. People get more understanding of why they do some of the things that they do. I guess is the best way
Oh,
to say it.
okay. Like a
Yeah.
pattern,
Yeah.
continual pattern forming. That's
Yes. Yeah.
interesting.
So that's been really cool. I've liked that. I've been doing this show, starting a new show. I don't have a date yet, but starting a new show.
You can't just hang it there. Come on. Your listeners want to know more. What
Really?
is this
Really?
new
They want to
show?
know more?
Yeah, and where can they find it?
Well,
How
they can
can they
find it right
subscribe?
here on All Access Network because
Okay.
that's where it's going to be debuting. And the name of the show is Undiscovered Haunts. It is a storytelling show. So anyone who has a story to tell about a paranormal experience, a spiritual experience. I'm not keeping it just to the paranormal. It's not just ghost stories, but any kind of a story that expands who you are. So, a spiritual awakening story. We'll be doing some of those. We'll be doing some stories on I say we. I mean the people sending in the story, I will be telling their story. So it is
Mm,
a combined effort. So when I get enough stories, I guess in the vault, then I'll be
nice.
starting the show. So, but I'm super excited and I would love people to send me stories to Psychic Kristina 67 at gmail.com. Send your stories in. So yeah,
Wow. That
super
sounds
excited about
incredible.
that.
I've
Yeah.
got to ask, because we went to a convention, would you be
Yes.
extending this into the cryptid,
Oh yeah.
and the Fae and the gnome community? Any
And the
experiences of that?
ETs and everybody. Yeah.
Oh, now
Yeah.
watch those emails come flooding in,
Yeah, I
and
hope
you'll
so.
need a personal assistant to vet them and say, "Yep, we've got the next show for you."
I
Wow,
love it. I love it. And if we have, a
awesome.
number of shorter stories that are all kind of in the same genre, then I could do maybe two, three, four stories in a show. So,
Oh, I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And would you be telling your contributors that are sending you these emails, tune in on this date because your show is going to be aired?
Yes, I will. I will be
Oh,
letting people
there
know
we
when their
go.
stories will be aired. So, yeah, all they have to do is send me their stories and I've already started a folder on my computer to put the stories into. So, yeah, I'm
I
excited.
can't wait to listen to
It'll
that.
be fun.
Wow.
It'll be
Things
fun.
that make you go, ooh.
Yeah. Things that go bump in the night.
That's the thing.
Lights in the skies, whatever. Bring it. Bring it. Bring your Bigfoot. Bring your Champ. Bring your Nessie. Bring all of Mothman, whatever. Whatever stories you got, send them to me. I'd be happy to include them in the show. So super excited about that.
Can't wait. I'm loving
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So, yeah. So, are we ready to dive in?
Hold
Are we
on.
ready? There you go.
I'm ready. I'm there.
Glenn's in the water. Awesome. 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 Oh, you know what? No, we're not ready yet because we forgot to talk about something.
Slap on the wrist for you.
I
Oh,
know,
don't
naughty,
know.
naughty. Um, I would love for you to share with this audience all about our
Our
TV
show. Oh, of
show.
course, yes. Christina and myself, you probably heard us talk about this, but we put together a TV show called Into the Void. It's basically Christina is from the USA. She's a spiritual medium. Myself, Glenn Boddice, I'm a spiritual medium from the UK. And last year we went around lots of locations all around the UK because Christina just sent me a message. Oh, casually, I'm going to be in the UK this time. Yeah, just popping by. And so, anyway, we based the show around Christina's schedule and we intuitively selected the locations where we were both in agreement, where we were feeling that magnetic calling to go and visit. We didn't do any research. We didn't want to do any research. We wanted to trust our spiritual gifts and abilities and the guidance of our spirit teams. And so, with that being said, the TV show is basically Kristina and myself doing a walk around, a walk and talk to camera,
Walk and talk.
uh, with various spirit communicators, connecting in with the vibrations of the buildings, the lands, the ley lines, and basically reporting it directly to you as it was happening, and then interjecting with one another as well and getting more insights into these locations. So, anyway, we've got there. We're on episode 2, and we're
Yes.
releasing an episode every single month. There's 10 episodes, all in different locations around the UK. And the current episode that is out there on all of the social media, it's on Kristina's social media, it's on my own, on the YouTube channels there as well. And it is in Coningsborough Castle, Doncaster.
Yes.
And we had the pleasure of experiencing the energies and communicating with those beautiful spirit individuals that allowed us to do that, didn't we?
Yes, we did. It was really wonderful because what I found when we were filming all of our episodes is that we didn't get any of the famous people.
No,
We got the people who keep the world turning, and I thought that was amazing. I loved it. We got the servants and the blacksmiths and the stewards and the people who keep it all going. And I just thought that was amazing. In every episode, that's what we had, which I thought was great.
it was fantastic. But
Yeah.
for your listeners and viewers, they're going to find this episode very fascinating because our good friend here and host, Kristina, she actually went from being a USA citizen to being a British citizen because she did some trance mediumship while we was
Yes.
at the location, and her mannerisms changed, her voice changed. She sounded rather upper class English, and she was channeling this lady through, and this lady was giving a lot of insight into how life was in her timeline. But you're going to have to watch and
Yes.
see that episode for yourself to
It was
witness
pretty
how
cool.
very good Kristina doing that. It was an eye opener when it was happening because, yeah, I remember it was like, oh, right, rolling the camera. We need this. And then
Turn
I
the
thought
camera
about
on.
your health, mental, spiritual, and physical health after we'd finished the shoot. Are you all right? That was fantastic. Can
Yeah,
you
it
do that
was. It
again?
was great. It was great. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Um, that whole trip is just, I reminisce a lot about that whole trip. It was just an amazing, life-changing experience for me. And I
Oh,
thank you for being my host. It
oh,
was
thank
amazing.
you for keeping me company. Thank you for riding shotgun in the white paneled van.
The white panel van, yes,
Who
with
is
some
no
guy I
longer
never
with
met.
us. Is no longer with us anymore.
No,
Come
poor
to the
Nellie
van.
has gone to the van in the sky.
She has, yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
if you're wanting to see that, like we say, we release one episode every single month, and that episode will be on rotation throughout the course of that month on all of the social medias. It will remain there, obviously, for as long as possible, and then the next episode will be on the 1st of September
yes.
as well. So we've got 10 episodes, so hopefully, you've got lots of content to enjoy and follow us on our travels in
Yes.
the UK.
Yes. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, w- it was what I found most interesting was that like we just hit it off. Boom. Like
Mm,
there was no conflict, there was no I'm getting tired of you. There was none of that. We just worked together so well and it just clicked
there was
so
no
well.
diva moments or I'm
No,
not doing that until I have a latte moment. There was none of
no.
fantastic.
And
It was
this is going to
good, man.
surprise people who know me. The entire week I had one cup of coffee. One.
And 18
Yes.
packs of cigarettes. No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. Might have had some Diet Pepsi, but yeah, but one coffee the entire time. So yeah, that was interesting. All right. Are we ready to dive in? We're ready to
Hold
go?
on. Let me
Because
just get my scuba D.
get your scuba
Yeah,
gear on and bring a flashlight because we're diving into shadow work.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you got your torch? We're ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right. We will be taking a deep dive into the inner work of growing, of healing, of expanding ourselves at all levels. So this is going to be a really deep dive conversation. And ooh, I'm just going to throw you under the bus to begin with.
Again, you could be a little
Again.
bit gentle. Oh,
Under the bus you go, Glenn. Under the bus. Define
okay.
what a shadow self means to you. What is a shadow
A
self?
shadow self. I would say it's a part of a fractal, if you like, of your vibration. And this could be from, I don't know, your formative years as a child, growing up into adult life. And the shadow self is, I would say, maybe behavior of others, the ideals and mindset of others that have been imprinted upon you to such a degree that you have embodied that wisdom, if you want to call it wisdom or
Mhm.
information, as your own understanding. And in actual fact, it isn't, it's a repetition of somebody else's belief system. Prior to that, or say prior to that, or adding to that, it could be maybe where you were at in your own thoughts, in your own conscious awareness at various points in your life where you hadn't grown, you hadn't expanded your vibration, you had a very narrow viewpoint on the world and your own experience, that you came up with a conclusion to keep you moving forward in life, not necessarily the right conclusion, but you accepted it in order for you to keep on moving in your life.
Okay.
And that part of you, the shadow self, is still there somewhere. Maybe you've placed it in the back of your mind, in your subconscious. And like I say, you've kept on moving in life. And eventually you think you've dealt with a situation. It's still there. And some part along your journey in your life, it will let you know it's still there for you to address it and finish the work that you should have finished maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, as an example. So that is my definition of the shadow self. What
Wow.
about
Yeah.
yourself?
I couldn't agree more. I do think that a lot of people tend to think that the shadow self is something negative. I don't necessarily think it's negative. I think it's just a part we're not aware of,
Hmm.
a portion of ourselves that we're just not aware of. So, and I really liked the way that you started that with, taking on other people's thoughts and ideas and adopting them as our own, because I think that that does build a lot of where our shadow self is that we have taken on other people's ideals, other people's teachings, other people's um, even character traits sometimes
Mm.
without realizing that we have done that and that that can definitely create some
Don't know what you
shadows.
mean.
Oh, no, either. I don't know. Like when I look in the mirror and see my mom, I have no idea what that means.
Oh
But
yeah.
taking on even the self-esteem of our elders, how they might have felt about themselves and how we adopt that and bring it into our own adult lives. That creates a lot of the shadow self as well, where it's really just the parts that we're not consciously aware of, is the way
Mm.
that I define the shadow self.
Mm, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the
I'd agree.
shadow work then is shining a light on it, looking at it, like, is this really me? Is this really what I believe? Is this really, looking at the shadows and getting really honest with ourselves about it. And the deep dive here, and I'm going to ask you first, I guess, is how do we identify those shadows, those
Oh,
shadow parts of
okay.
ourselves?
I would say repetitive patterns or lessons, situations happening in your life, and it's like, well, why is this happening again? I've been through this before, Oh, why? And I would say that upon that time, that shadow self will be given center stage, if you like, will be
Yeah.
put under the spotlight. But because you either deem it as being negative, or it makes you feel uncomfortable, or you just haven't got the time to face up to it, that you try your best to push it back down again and not to give it center stage. But I would say giving it center stage and being here now with that feeling,
Hmm.
that visualization, those words, those mental programmings that have been placed in you, the feelings in your body there as well, and just living it with it in that moment and observing all of those elements. And what I find when we do that, then this is where we can learn those lessons. This is, it's almost like where we get rid of that old software by
Hmm.
allowing it to play out and observing it. And in doing so, we're clearing space, using another computer term, in our
Right.
hard drive so that we can then have new software or upgrades installed in the place where that old shadow was once consuming space in our vibration. And therefore, we can move into a new timeline and flourish.
I like that. I like the way you explain that. One of the things that popped into my head while you were talking is that we stop agreeing to selves, to things. Stop. I'm just going to try that again. Stop agreeing to things that insult our soul.
I like that.
That was an idea that popped into my head, and I know I borrowed that from someone years ago. I don't remember who it was, but really noticing when our behaviors, which is really where it comes out, right? Where we can see it in our behaviors, is looking at that and going, is that really who I want to be? Is that who I really want to present to the world? Is that who I want to present to myself? Is that something that I'm okay with? And we might decide at some point, yeah, I'm okay with that for right now. Maybe we won't, maybe we will. But looking at the different parts of ourselves, but also turning to the positive part of it is when we discover maybe we have a talent we weren't aware of, or we've told ourselves for years, oh, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that. I don't have that skill. And then you try it and realize you do have that skill. So you've uncovered a shadow that you didn't even know you created. So just as a thought that way.
That is interesting. And that kind of aligns with something I was saying on a live a few weeks back, where I shared the experience and story into my childhood. And I mentioned here in the UK, when I was growing up, there was this culture that if you was a male, if you was a boy, you had to like soccer, you had to like football, and you would have to like a team, and you'd have to have the T-shirt and all the merch, and you'd have to watch that team, and you'd have to play it at school, and you were encouraged to play
Yeah.
it, and so I was sharing that story, and I was in the belief that this is just what you do. As a young boy in the UK, this is what you do, and okay. And so I continued living that life up until I reached, I think I was 9 or something like that. And then I suddenly observed the people around me, how passionate, how locked in they were with football, like nothing else mattered. And I was looking at them getting irate over somebody missing a pass or an opportunity to score a goal. Yet to me, it didn't have that impact on me. And I was like, well, why aren't I the same as them? Why aren't I feeling those emotions? Why aren't I as invested as them? And it became very clear to me at that young age that actually I'm just following this habit of being a male in the UK, and that I meant to play football. But in actual fact, I didn't like it.
Right.
I couldn't care who won, who lost, who took the tackle, who won it wasn't. And when I was watching football, I couldn't care. I used to drift off, I used to get bored, and everybody was locked in almost in a like a trance-like situation. And I was there more concerned looking at the grass. Oh, that grass looks green over there, doesn't it? Yeah. So my point being is the fact that my former childhood there, I was under the spell of this is how I was meant to be. And when I realized that actually I'm not like that, I connected in. I didn't know at the time, at being 9 years old, that this isn't who I am. This is not who I'm meant to be. And from that moment onwards, I took a very strong interest in music. And then this is where the drumming started to come in and the growing of the hair and all of that. And I went down that direction. So, like you were saying earlier, it's good to, I think it's a good, shall we call it, contrast point
Yeah.
where you can make that decision to actually reflect inwardly and observe what's really happening rather than following those old belief systems, those shadow energies that may have been passed down from generation to generation, and just recognizing that and stepping out of that. I mean, it put me on my path to where I am today. So, yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you because I was only
That's
talking
awesome.
about that a couple of weeks ago.
Right, right. Where you realize that
Mm,
you're participating in something because it's expected and not necessarily
yes,
because you care.
that's right.
So,
It wasn't who I
yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah. I'm the same way with any sport, basically. You
Guilty
know,
as charged, Your Honor.
I couldn't care less. I'm surprised they haven't kicked me out of Wisconsin because this is a very sports-oriented state.
Oh, you're very privileged
Uh,
then.
oh, hmm.
Look at the side eyes on that.
Oh my goodness. So at the beginning, I said that, we were going to be talking about the inner work of
Mhm.
growing, healing, and expanding ourselves. What are let's talk about the differences between what is growing, what is healing, and what is expanding.
Okay. Will you throw me under the bus again?
If you
I'm
want
going
to
to
take
brace
it.
myself. Well, I'll take healing. You
Okay.
take growing, and then we can both do expanding. How's that?
Sounds like a plan. Go ahead.
Yeah, the load.
Share the load. That's what we do.
Okay. Yeah. So healing, I believe this is where the journey begins. Well, in fact, I'm going to add another label to one that's not on there, and that is observing.
Oh, good one.
Observing ought to
Yeah.
be the first one. So observing, recognizing what's you, where you happen to be in your life. And you can do this at any age, any time in your life. Usually, what we find is that it'll take a moment of severe contrast to stop us in our tracks where we have no other choice but to observe how we feel, what we're thinking, what we're feeling physically. And usually at that point, this is where we can observe and recognize who we are or who we think we are in
Right.
that moment we're observing. Because prior to that, we could have had a belief that we were meant to work a certain job. We were meant to, go drinking, for example, or go hang out at the bars. That was our life until we made that sort of breakthrough or breakdown, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
and observed how we felt in that moment. And it's upon observing that, and again, like we said earlier, giving it center stage, you're in a position now where everything has stopped due to this level of contrast in your life that you have to observe it. And upon that observation, that's when the lessons are learned. This is where you rediscover yourself and redefine who you truly are. And, your true authenticity comes to the foreground when you start to pay attention to this version of yourself.
Yeah.
It happened to me. I mentioned it many times. And I still believe now it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is when I went through a very traumatic divorce and separation. This is where I was stopped in my tracks. Prior to that, life was very different for me. And I had to start from forgive the terminology, but ground zero
Mm-hmm.
and rebuild and re-understand of who I am in that moment. And then once I had a grasp upon that, I'd say a gentle grasp, because you've got to be kind, loving, you've got to have patience with yourself. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to
Right.
take time. Then this is where the healing comes into play. And healing, I would say, excuse me, is a form of acceptance. And when you're prepared to accept what is, it is what it is, then there's no resistance to that energy healing, that inspiration, that wisdom, that guidance. There's just an acceptance of this energy. Here I am now, and I'm open to maybe guidance, help, new opportunities, seeing life differently. I'm open to it. I'm an open slate. And I have that whatever will be vibration about me. And I would say it's at that point, that's when the healing can really start to make an impact on your vibration. Okay, so over to you. What's growing?
Well, growing is,
And don't say
um,
tomatoes either.
okay, flowers. Um,
Oh,
well, adding on to what you were saying on healing, because I
mhm.
feel like growing is kind of the next stage, right?
Yeah.
Growing is the next stage of healing. But I also want to point out that some people get stuck in the healing stage and they stay there. They never
Oh.
reach a point of feeling like they've actually healed something,
What would you
you
say
know?
keeps them in that vibration? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think it's different areas too, right? So let's take emotional health. Let's take
Hmm.
emotional health where someone has been in an abusive situation, they get out of the abusive situation, and they kind of get stuck in the talking about it all the time, talking about and never really move past that into the
Yeah.
growing stage where they just get stuck in the horror stories and the talking about it and getting angry. And I mean, anger can be very helpful. I'm not saying it isn't, but getting stuck in it and I will never be in a relationship again, and I will never do this, and I will never do that, and
Mm.
really closing off their opportunity for growth and expansion. Sometimes people can get stuck in that. I admire anyone who can move beyond that. And, so this thing happened, but now it's in the past. And I have just cut all ties to it. Like I'm not emotional about it anymore. I don't get angry about it anymore. I don't feel anything about it anymore because I've healed that and set it to the side because I don't need to do that anymore. Um, I think that growth often though brings us back to the healing that we've done to go deeper into it, to get to the deeper levels of healing. So I notice this a lot with people who were abused as children, where they start seeing where they're repeating patterns and going, okay, I don't want this in my life. So that's another deeper level of healing, which brings us to growth. It brings us up into going, all right, this is not something I'm willing to repeat. So I'm going to grow through this and do better with my own family. So that's what I think where growth comes from is acknowledging the healing, really truly acknowledging the healing and not just continuing the process of being stuck in healing and then being able to grow into I'm a better person now because I have dealt with this and I have healed from it. And I think that that's where growth comes from. I think also observing maybe previous generations and not following in their footsteps is growth,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
moving forward. But also, even, we are both parents of young adults and, looking at them and going, okay, I know that I had to grow through this and I know I have to give them space to grow through this.
It's a
But
tough lesson,
also
isn't it?
it can be challenging, but also understanding that we kind of move from parenting to coaching, and that's growth on our part. You
I
know,
see. Yeah, I get you there. Yeah,
yeah,
being that supportive mechanism
yeah,
without placing judgment or control. Yeah.
right, right. And it also helps us to remember what we were like at that age.
Oof.
I know,
Yeah, I
right?
must have been a nightmare for my parents.
I think I was too. Um,
I mean, I've got my halo now, but I didn't used to have.
it took some growing. It took some
It
growing.
did.
Understanding also that, physical growth goes along with emotional and mental growth because our brains mature slower than our bodies. And realizing that once we get past a certain age, and I think it's like 27 or something, if I read the article right, um, that's when we start maturing more. 18 is the age of adulthood, but we don't really start getting into maturity until our mid 20s. And
And the rest. I think I could find my own bottom when I was 30.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can tell it from a hole in the ground at that point. So,
Love it.
but understanding that growth is also a process. We don't just go, oh, got it, boom, I grew. You know, it's a process and we continue to grow throughout our lives, I think. At least I hope we do, because I don't ever want to be the same person I was yesterday for the rest of my life. I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to experience myself differently. I want to be able to experience the world around me differently. So I think that growing is a continuous thing that we do. And yet the same could be said for healing. But again, if you're stuck in the healing, then growth doesn't happen. Or
Mm,
hey,
fascinating. Love your answer there.
yeah,
Very
wow.
in depth. Yeah, can align with that. So come on, let's do this one together.
Okay.
Expanding. So we've said growth. We're now moving beyond growth.
To
So
expansion.
expansion, if I may interject.
Yes, please.
Okay, so my definition of this at this stage is where we're comfortable with who we are. We're confident in our own skin, not arrogant, not cocky. There's a fine line between the two, but we're
Hmm.
confident. We recognize who we are, our divinity, what our path is, and our likes and dislikes, to the point where we're not emotionally scarred anymore. We accept what has happened. And instead of seeing it as a curse, we're seeing it as a blessing. And what better blessing than to share that experience, that wisdom, that alignment with whoever needs to hear it, whoever needs to
Right.
feel it and experience it. So you're taking your initial observations, moving it through to healing, moving into the next level of growth, and then you're sharing. Expanding to me is all about sharing the wisdom, sharing the knowledge without controlling anybody, just putting it out there and letting it land where it lands, enabling them to find their own, shall we say, pearls of wisdom in that information.
Yeah, I like your definition. I like your definition. For me, expansion, to add to that, is also experiencing. I'm trying to put all these words together in order because they're coming so fast that it's hard to sort it out. Um, Recognizing not only who we are, but the way that we interact in the world, and allowing that to expand into different ways of understanding the world, of understanding who we are, but also understanding who other people are, and accepting people for who they are, where they are, and then making our choices about whether or not we want to engage with that. That is growth and expansion to me at that level, because again, it's about not agreeing to things that insult our soul, and understanding that I have grown beyond certain behaviors, certain interactions, but also expanding that out into the world and sharing the light that we have discovered within ourselves, like you have said, being there with the light that we share out into the world. And we can do that, like we're doing now, on a
Mm.
podcast. Uh,
Yeah.
we can do that in our everyday interactions, when we are in a store and we're interacting with a clerk and bringing our light to that interaction action that is expanding all of us, that is expanding our light to someone else who may turn around and expand it to someone else, who may turn around and expand it to someone else. And it's like the ripples on the pond when you toss a
Mm.
pebble into the pond, and that sort of expansion expanding out. Now, that can obviously work both positively or negatively. I choose to expand positively, especially when I'm very conscious of it, expanding and sending my light out into the world rather than being a grumpy Gus and, expanding that kind of energy out into the world. So to me, I think that that's expanding, if that makes
I love that.
sense.
And one point that you did make was meeting people where they are,
Yeah.
not necessarily where you want them to be. I mean, that shows expansion because you've evolved from it's all about me. You've done the inner work and
Hmm.
you're meeting people where they are. There's that level of acceptance. And there's in that level of acceptance, there's no blockages, there's no resistance to healing
Right.
coming through and expanding through them and them giving you the healing through them holding space for you. And it's a beautiful, I would say, a dance of life, if I
Yeah,
could call
I
it
would
that.
agree with that.
Mm.
And also I think expansion is when we can also receive that from other people and do it graciously.
Yes, and that can be difficult, can't it?
It
Especially when you're
can.
very independent,
Yes.
to having to say, okay, the white flag's up. Okay, I surrender.
I
I
receive.
makes
Thank
I
you.
receive. Thank you very much.
Yes. Sometimes that can be very hard. It can be difficult to receive, but that is also part of our
Hmm.
expansion. And you look like you got your eye on something there. What you got your eyes on?
Sorry, it's my cat Callie. She's just
Oh,
mooched into the room,
oh,
and I
Callie.
thought, oh, she got something in her mouth. I didn't know whether she got a rodent in there, but she hasn't.
Oh.
She was just looking rather sheepish, as cats do. So
Yes.
you're all right. We're safe.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Poor.
we're safe. Honest.
Oh my gosh. So how do we go about confronting the shadow once we're aware of it? And I'm
Mm,
going to also add to that that shadows come up all the time. That's also part of the consistent growth that we're going through as humans, is that the shadows continue to come up, but different shadows, I think,
they
present
do. You're
themselves.
quite right. I would say how we confront them is stop making excuses for them by saying, I haven't got time, I haven't got the money, I'm busy. Anybody can say that, can't they? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something that I tell people all the time, as gross as it sounds, we all visit the smallest room in the house at least 2 times a day, maybe three if you like your food, maybe
Yeah.
four if you really
Really
love your
like
food.
food.
Well, in that time, usually you're there for 5 minutes, sometimes more. But in that time, why don't you multitask and just allow those thoughts, those emotions, those feelings to come up, take center stage. After all,
Right.
there's some toilet paper near you if you need to. Just wipe
Wipe.
your eyes there as well, and plus other areas. Um, but yeah, so I would say to take responsibility, stop making excuses, and just have those little pockets of time and just allow it to come to the surface there. You'll be amazed when it does, even in those 5 minutes. You'll learn so much about yourself and why you've been thinking a certain way, why you've been feeling a certain way, maybe how you've been behaving towards others, because this shadow part of yourself has triggered a resistance point within your vibration that doesn't want to expand, that doesn't want to heal, because it's quite comfortable where it is. I don't have to put any time or effort or anything in it. I can just accept that this is my lot in life. And I would say this is how we confront it, by not making excuses, giving it center stage, letting it go back to where it goes, go about your business, go about your day, And then the next opportunity you have time, um, allow it to come back up, because it will keep coming up
It will.
until you confront it. And something else I always say to students, clients, is when you are at that stage where you are letting it play out, is to speak to it as if you were speaking to a person. Recognize why it's
Oh, I
been
like
there,
that. Yeah.
and you would have a conversation with it. You'd say, thank you for coming up and showing yourself into my life, making your presence aware to myself in this moment in time. I appreciate the lessons that you have taught me, but for now, I am moved into a different vibration and I no longer require those elements, those lessons in my life. So I now release you in the name of love, light, peace, truth, and harmony. And so it is.
I
And
love
I would
that.
have a conversation like that, and you will feel that energy shift. You'll feel those tingles down your spine. Hopefully, you're not sat down in the loo while you're doing this. You've taken it to the next level where you're consciously doing this work. Um, and yeah, you'll feel lighter. You may feel lightheaded, slightly dizzy. You may be overcome with emotions, but you will feel that openness of your heart, that warmth, that love that you can't quite describe. You don't know what it is, but it's a warmth within the heart
Right.
chakra there. And you'll begin that next chapter in your life once you've done that.
I love that. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
T.
Yeah, and summarizing, I guess what you said is that in order to confront a shadow, you first have to identify it. You have to realize what it is. And you just described that beautifully. I don't think I have anything I could even add to that. That was lovely.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind.
I'm just being honest. I don't have anything to add to it, so we're just going to move on.
Okay.
So once it's confronted, how do we start healing the shadow? And in this one, I want to get into the real kind of nitty gritty, like what
Okay.
steps do we take? Like what are the first steps? Because I know that as we get used to, or after, I don't know if used to is the right way to say it, but once we have confronted shadows, sometimes those first set of shadows can take years to work through.
Mm.
But through that, we develop a process. And with the process, every time a shadow presents itself or we dig it up, as the case may be, that process becomes shorter. Where what used to take us a year or 2 years to deal with a shadow might now take us a day or two, maybe even an hour or two, maybe even 5 minutes sitting in the smallest room in the house, where it,
A two flush wonder.
a two flush wonder. There you go.
Courtesy flush wonder.
And we digress. But really, what were your beginning steps in dealing with these things? Like, do you remember back when you were going through, maybe let's just use the divorce as a situation, when you were first going through that, what was your process? Do you recall how you did that?
I would say know thyself. And obviously going back to that moment in time, as you've described there, um, I didn't know myself. I was a no man's land. I just had this shocking news. Everything was on my shoulders, the responsibility, everything. I would say, first of all, to be here now with it. You know, it is what it is. You can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work through it and you have to accept. So there's a level of acceptance with that situation. And once you've got through the trauma and the shock, because it does play on your nerves, you will
Mm-hmm.
have the physical shakes. Your diet will change. The way that you interact with the world will change. Well, it did for me. I went
Right.
very reclusive. I was there for my girls. And, almost I had to put on a bit of a performance when I was out in public because that wasn't how I was feeling inside. But my girls were my priority. So I would push myself beyond that limitation in order for them to have the best experience in that situation. But eventually, going through that, the process was knowing what felt good to me. So, knowing thyself. So, even though I was learning, relearning who I truly was, I would take life on a day, maybe an hour to the next hour in that day basis. And as you know yourself, when you're going through something like that, what you liked maybe 10 minutes ago, you've completely gone off of. Your vibration has changed. And
Yes.
so just observing yourself and recognizing what does feel good, what glimmer of hope, what makes you feel and gives you the strength to carry on. For me, music helped me get through that process. The healing vibrations of music, feeling into that music helped me to heal going through that. I did listen to lots of spiritual content online as well. And I found that I'm going to name drop him. He's no longer with us now anymore, unfortunately. But a lot of Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's work I was aligning with, and his wisdom was wow. It was
Yeah.
almost as if it was directed to me personally at that moment in time. And for me, that helped me to process what I was going through. It helped me to give myself space and time, even though from an external point of view in my life, I was being pushed and cajoled to make snap decisions, life changing decisions like that. Was to relax about it and feel into every one of those moments. So getting to know myself and taking it one step at a time helped me to process that information and to move into, shall we call it, friendly waters, so to speak. And I would say after those events, when I go through shadow work now, obviously I've evolved mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Right.
Again, it all starts with knowing thyself. And it's something that I teach with my students, and I call it a baseline check and it's something that everybody does without even realizing it on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. We all wake up in the morning and we're doing that assessment. What have I just dreamt of? What am I thinking now in my mind? How am I feeling today? Shall I go into work? I'm not really feeling it today. How's my body feeling? We're doing that assessment every single day without actually giving it a label. But what we're doing is a baseline check. So every moment, just observe how you are by doing that, and then assess life's challenges based upon who you are in that moment. And when you feel in, I usually find that feeling into a situation will help you move through the situation. So, a feeling, I would say, to get that feeling moving, I would think of the circumstance that I was going through or the experience that I needed, the shadow work that I needed to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hold that image in my thoughts. I'd allow it to play out like a movie in my mind. I'd also hear some of those triggering words. And then from that moment, holding that space for that, I'd then get the emotions linked to it. And upon observing those emotions, I begin to realize if it's something I need to pursue or something I need to let go of based upon those observations.
Wow, that was a lot. That was
Oh, sorry.
and
I
deep.
do.
No, no, it
I
was
have
deep. I
verbal
That's what I
diarrhea.
wanted. That's what I was asking for, was for you to really explain your process. And
Oh, thank you.
um, I would have to say my process is fairly similar.
Okay.
First identifying what it doesn't feel good, what needs to change, and then taking steps. And I mean, from where I used to be, and granted, it was more years ago than I care to admit, but 40 years ago, obviously in my teenage years, I'm going to deal with things very differently than I do in my 50s, right? Because we hopefully grow as we grow and not always sideways. So, growing as we grow and just looking at the ways that some of the things that I did and really getting into it as far as going through different losses in my life, which is where a lot of my shadows came out, was when I had a loss. How did I behave? How did I react? How did I interact with the world at that point? And therapy, going to therapy got me through a lot of the things that I've had to go through as far as moving through loss. Um, Looking at when my son passed away, it's been like 3.5 years now, but going through that loss and seeing how some of my old coping behaviors were starting to surface. And even if they didn't make it outside of myself where other people could see it, I could notice it. I could notice that some of my coping behaviors, um, shutting down or running away, or
Mm.
those types of things where I was noticing when I really just wanted to escape. And where do you go from something like that? It doesn't matter where you go, there you are, right? So, um, getting therapy, I think at different stages, obviously stopping addiction, there's no way I could have just talked myself out of that. There was no way. I was raised in addiction. I was raised in an addicted, violent household, knowing from a young age I did not want to carry that forward. I did not want my kids to grow up the way I did when I eventually had kids. So there was the whole watching how I reacted to different things and taking responsibility for my own feelings. And I think that that is so important because we can't change anything we don't take responsibility for, right?
Very true. Very true.
I was not responsible for my parents' behavior and how they treated me, but I am responsible for healing it. I am responsible for growing through it. And I am responsible for noticing when I'm falling back into behaviors that are not to my highest good or anyone else's. So the therapy piece was a big part of it actually in the beginning. But also just getting really honest with myself and uh, being able to look at myself, being able to take an honest self inventory has been something that has really throughout my life, has, because I learned it in my teens, has really helped me to move through some of the shadow things that have come up in my life, and looking at my own involvement even when I felt like I was a victim. Why am I there? Why am I putting myself in this position?
Mm.
What is it that I need to go back? What shadow do I need to look at that allows me to put myself in that type of a position, and taking responsibility for my own behavior? And I think that that is what has helped me identify shadow self, is really being very self-observant and noticing when I'm slipping into old behaviors that do not help me, do not help anyone else, who that really keep us from growing and expanding and being who we are meant to be in this world. Is really, like you said, know thyself. It really comes down to know thyself.
Mm.
And when we're at the beginning and we don't know ourselves, that can be a really hard thing to do.
Oh,
That
definitely.
can that can be a really hard thing to know yourself when you haven't met yourself really. You know, when you've been able to, or I'm going to keep it on me, when I've been able to hide in behaviors that I learned and not have to grow through them, but at some point it becomes obvious that that isn't working anymore. What we used to use for survival becomes a character defect. And when we no longer need it for survival, then it's time to look at it and go, is this really helping me? I don't need it anymore. And I'm sort of really simplifying it because it's hard to get into the nitty gritty,
Mm.
in a 1 hour show like we're talking about. But I have had so many people over the years who have been in my corner, who have helped me grow from one stage to another, and really being grateful for those people, including my kids who have gotten me through things because I had to be brave for them. I had to take responsibility for myself because of them, because they were there and I needed to take care of them. So, yeah, that we just both we went scuba diving.
That is very deep. I love that. And
Yeah.
a thought that kept musing around my mind really was while she was saying that is um almost you, well, you are an ambassador of the light. And in many respects, you were breaking the chains to those old patterns,
Yeah.
maybe gone throughout the generations of both family trees there. And your soul's mission, part of your soul's mission was to actually, no, we're going to break those chains now. That behavior is not going to continue throughout the family lineage. And instead, there's this light, this self reflection vibration, this feeling into situations rather than just reacting to life, knowing that, well, in fact, we're turning that round, knowing that we have the power and with our authenticity
Yeah.
to create and mold the life that we know we truly are worthy of and deserve.
Yeah. That's that is so true. And thank you for bringing that back around. I appreciate that. Oh boy. Now I'm almost tired.
Wow, it's been a great deep dive.
It has. And at the
Loved
end of
it.
it, we reach inner peace, right? Like, isn't
Of
that the whole
course.
goal? Is to
Yeah.
be peaceful on the inside, regardless of what's going on the outside, is to
Do
be
you know
peaceful
what?
on the
It
inside.
does have a way of projecting from you.
It
We've
does.
said it before, you meet people and you talk about their vibe, their vibration. They have an energy, an aura that they're giving off. You've
Hmm.
maybe never even spoke to this person before in your life, and you know that they're a beautiful soul. You need to talk to them. And when you do, you're just enlightened, enthralled by their inner world and their
Yeah,
external world as well. It is a
absolutely.
beautiful thing to witness that. And there's lots more people, I would say, amongst the chaos that's happening in the world right now, that are shining so brightly at the
Yeah.
moment. A lot of people that maybe wouldn't consider what we're talking about today, give it the time of day, are now starting to be, they don't know why, but they're magnetically drawn to these, shall we call them light workers, people that
Hmm.
have done the internal work, that have that vibration of love, kindness, and peace. And part of their soul maybe is drawing them to them because they are, shall we say, a healing modality in themselves just
Yeah.
by being in that place, in that moment, holding space. And then that individual can then go away from that person, maybe not knowing what's happened, but there will be a spark of inspiration that enters their thought that maybe when they've experienced shadow work or past memories coming up and emotions, they put them down, forgot about them. This time round, because they've had that interaction, they're going to let it play out and let's just see where this goes.
Yeah,
And that's how it flows,
absolutely.
isn't it?
I love it. I love it. So, speaking of bringing light into the world, what do you have coming up where you're bringing light into the world?
Oh, I love it. Seamless as ever.
Ever.
For
Yes.
me, what's coming up? Again, doing online conversations on my Facebook page every Monday, 11 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I'll be doing that. And then teaching as well, transmediumship, spiritual development, again, both online. So it doesn't matter what country you're located in, as long as you can be up and at 'em and join in at 7:30 Greenwich Mean Time, you're more than welcome to get involved in the class there. Then I have a few more gigs with the band. And then, as I said, we're taking a bit of September off, which I'll probably use constructively because I'm not one to stand still or twiddle my thumbs. I am going away, going to have some time away with my good lady there. And then I may even do some energy explorations on these different locations we go.
Nice.
And but I don't like to, when I'm relaxing, I like to relax. It's so easy to go back into that work mode, isn't it?
It is.
So I have to snap out of that habit, that old shadow.
Yes. That old shadow.
So what are you up to? What are you doing?
Oh, let's see. I am doing an online class on the 12th, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm excited about this one. We are
Oh,
going
do
to
tell.
do a astral travel. We're going to do an astral travel class to some other place, don't know where yet, some other galaxy, some other universe. And we're going to attend a class with a teacher from there. So
Oh, wow.
I have no
That's
idea what
epic.
we're, don't have any idea what we're going to learn, where we're going to go yet, but we are going to go there and we are going to learn
Wow.
however they teach whatever they're teaching us. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Well, I hope you're recording that for the benefit of your group to analyze after having that experience. That's going
Yeah,
to be
someone
so
in the group will have to
profound.
remind me to record it because I never remember to record the
Definitely.
classes.
That is
But
a once
yeah,
in a lifetime event right
yeah,
there.
that'll be a fun one. And then I have a couple of events coming up in September of the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference. I don't have any psychic fairs at this point scheduled, so I won't be doing any of those, but I am doing from home, doing readings and past life regressions and whatever. So online, not in my home. I have an agreement with my husband not to bring clients home. So, um, they won't be coming here, but we'll be doing it online or over the phone. So I have that coming up. And um, I also have a couple of books available on my website. And I have a merch site. Um, it's on printify.me and I still can't remember the name of it, but I'll be putting it in the comments.
It
Uh,
must have your name in it, surely.
it doesn't have my name in it. It's
Oh, anonymous.
yeah, I don't remember. My logo's on the storefront, but I don't remember the name of it. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with my brain? My brain's too full of other things. But
after
yeah,
after sharing all of that wisdom, I'm not
yeah.
surprised. You like we say, you're just getting used to that altitude pressure now. You're
Yeah.
going through the bends, aren't you? Oh,
Yeah, kind of.
that's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And apparently you are too, because you haven't told us about your books or about
Oh
your
yeah, I
music that's
forgot.
available, or so jump on in there, friend.
Okay, well, yeah, I've got three books available. My latest one is called In Good Spirits. It's an audio book only. And basically, this book is over 10 hours in length as an audio book. That is pretty good value. And basically, the book is about how to understand the communication of spirits, how to recognize when they're communicating with you, how to communicate with them. And also in the book, I share with you some of my own adventures into the paranormal, either at home, in the workplace, on paranormal events. So anybody that is interested in that, then that is the book for you. And with it being an audio book, you can multitask. You can do the ironing. You can travel to work, have it on the headphones there, and you can learn and grow and also get to work at the same time. So
Wonderful.
there's other two books available in paperback and also ebooks. And there's albums, there's channeled music, shamanic healing and tribal drumming albums that are very transformative energetically. There's a chanting album as well that it's again channeled from spirit, very transformative. There's video classes and courses on my website. What I would say, I could be here all day describing this to you. Just have a good nosy, have a look around my website, which is www.glennbodyspiritualmedium.com. And you can find also free content on there for you to listen to and download as well. Just have a good nosy. That's where you can
Awesome.
contact me as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're
This has
welcome.
been an
Thank you.
incredible conversation. Thank you so much for showing up, not just physically and not just mentally, but spiritually and emotionally as well, because this has been a great, great conversation. I want to thank everyone for listening. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow us for Glenn's channel as well, which is the YouTube channel with Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So follow both of our channels. We both have great content and lots to share. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.